I should never have taken that job at the lighthouse. From the very first step on the dock, I knew something was wrong. The fog didn't roll in. It clung like it was alive, wrapping itself around my throat. The boatman avoided my eyes, shoving me onto the shore with hands that wouldn't stop trembling. "Don't stay past midnight," he muttered. "No matter what you hear." He didn't wait for a response. He pushed the boat back into the water, leaving me stranded with a single bag, staring up at the towering shadow of the lighthouse. Why would a stranger warn me about hearing something, unless he knew I wouldn't be alone? The iron path leading up was slick with seaweed, as though the ocean had tried to climb ashore and drag the building down with it. Every footstep squelched. My shoes sank into something soft, something that wasn't just moss. I bent down, and in the pale moonlight, I realized it was feathers. Hundreds of wet, broken feathers were scattered across the steps. Where the hell were the birds that left them? And why did it feel like they'd been ripped apart mid-flight? The massive door loomed in front of me, its handle crusted with rust. I gripped it and flinched. It wasn't cold like iron should be. It was warm, damp, as if someone had clutched it seconds before me. My breath caught. I turned, scanning the fog, half expecting to see the boatman watching me. But no, there was no one. Just waves slapping the rocks in an irregular rhythm, too uneven to be natural, almost like footsteps. I shoved the door open. The air that rushed out was rancid, sweet, sickly, the smell of meat gone bad. I gagged, clamping my sleeve against my nose. But even then, I swore I heard something in the gust. A whisper carried on the stench. My name. My knees locked, but curiosity dragged me inside. The floorboards moaned under my weight, echoing too loudly, like the sound wasn't bouncing off walls, but off something moving with me. The lantern in the hall flickered, revealing brief flashes of the corridor ahead. In one of those flickers, I saw a figure at the far end, pale and rigid, standing in the dark. The light snapped back, and it was gone. Not a reflection, not a trick of the eye. Something had been waiting, watching, and it had vanished the moment I noticed. I stepped deeper into the lighthouse, dragging my bag behind me. The sound it made, leather scraping the floor, echoed too loudly, as though the place wasn't empty. I froze. Somewhere above, something shifted, a sharp creak of wood, slow, deliberate, like a person testing each step. But who else could be here? I tried to convince myself it was just the old wood settling, but the hairs rising on the back of my neck told me otherwise. The lantern sputtered again, and for a split second, I swore I saw movement on the stairs. Not someone climbing, but someone crouching, waiting, watching. Why did it feel like I was being studied, cornered, expected to remain? The hallway stretched longer than it should have, bending into shadow. My boots crunched over glass. I lowered the lantern to see shattered picture frames scattered across the floor. The photographs inside were ruined by water stains, except one. A woman, standing outside this very lighthouse, her smile unnaturally wide. The back of the photo was smudged, but one word was still visible, written in thick ink: stay. The storm outside slammed against the walls, shaking the beams overhead, and then 3 knocks. Not on the front door, but from inside the walls. Hollow, steady, almost polite. Who knocks from inside a house? And why would they want me to stay here with them? I left my bag by the table and climbed the staircase, each step groaning as though the wood wanted to give way. The lantern's flame stretched and bent, flickering in the draft that shouldn't exist. Halfway up, I felt it, warm air rushing past my face. A breath. I spun, but no one was there. Just the empty hallway, the frames on the floor, and the faint smell of brine and rot. Something was close enough to exhale on me. At the top, the corridor split into 2. One led toward the keeper's quarters, the other toward the light tower. I chose the quarters, thinking maybe I'd find a logbook or something to explain this place. Instead, I found the bed, sheets still tucked, pillow pressed as though someone had just risen minutes ago. On the nightstand sat a journal, cracked open. The page was fresh, the ink not yet dry, and it read, "He's here now. He should stay." My pulse thudded so loud it drowned the storm outside. I backed away from the journal, and the lantern hissed, nearly going out. That's when I noticed the wardrobe across the room. Its door was slightly ajar, and inside, something shifted, soft and wet, like flesh sliding against wood. I wasn't alone in that room. The wardrobe creaked wider. I stepped back, heart hammering, waiting for whatever was inside to lunge. But nothing came, just silence. And then, from behind me, another sound. A whisper, so close to my ear, I felt the words vibrate against my skin. "Stay." I whipped around, lantern raised. Empty air, no one there. But when I turned back, the wardrobe door was shut tight again. The journal's pages fluttered on their own, caught by a wind that didn't exist. New words scrawled themselves across across the page, the ink bleeding up from the paper. "You've already stayed too long." And then the knocks came again, louder this time, not from the walls, from beneath the floorboards directly under my feet. What in God's name wanted me to stay here forever? The storm outside roared louder, waves battering the rocks like fists against the lighthouse walls. My lantern flickered, shadows bending unnaturally on the peeling paint. Then I heard it, soft, deliberate footsteps on the upper floor. But I was alone. Who else could possibly be here? I gripped the railing and began climbing the narrow spiral staircase. The steps creaked beneath me, the sound echoing as if someone was matching my pace above. My breath came shallow. Every turn of the stairs, I expected to see someone waiting, but the landing was always empty. Suddenly, I heard a whisper, a raspy voice, inches from my ear. "Don't look up." I froze. My hand trembled on the iron rail. Against every instinct, I lifted my eyes. A face was staring down through the gaps of the stairwell, pale, stretched thin, its mouth wide open without making a sound. The lantern slipped from my hand and clattered down the stairs, the light swinging wildly before it went out. Darkness swallowed everything. I fumbled with my matches, but before I could strike one, a cold breath touched the back of my neck. "Stay." The match snapped in my fingers. My chest tightened as I realized the voice wasn't behind me. It was inside the walls. I pressed my ear to the plaster. Faint scratching, like nails dragging against wood, pulsed from within. Then, a muffled scream. Not one voice, but many, trapped, pleading. Had they all been here before me? Were they still here, even now? I staggered into the lantern room at the top. The great glass lens loomed like an enormous eye, fractured by years of neglect. Lightning flashed across the sea, illuminating something reflected in the glass. It wasn't me. The reflection was of a man standing closer than my own shadow, his grin cutting too wide, his eyes hollow and wet. I spun around, swinging the broken lantern as a weapon. Nothing, just the sea moaning against the cliff. When I turned back, the reflection remained, smiling at me even though I stood completely still. The glass lens cracked. A sound like splitting bone echoed as the mirror image pressed its hand forward, fingers stretching through the fracture. The air turned icy, salt water dripping from its skin. I staggered back, but there was nowhere to go. "Stay," it whispered again, this time in my own voice. The glass lens splintered wider, shards raining across the floor like falling teeth. The reflection's arm broke through, dripping salt water, its fingers wrapping around my wrist. Its grip was like iron, pulling me toward the fractured surface. I screamed and pulled back, but the more I struggled, the more the glass gave way. The surface rippled like water, swallowing my arm up to the elbow. I saw my own face inside the lens now, but it wasn't fighting. It was smiling. The thing tugged harder, and I stumbled forward, my chest slamming against the cold glass. In that instant, I felt the walls around me pulse with hundreds of voices, all whispering the same word: "Stay." The reflection's mouth moved in perfect time with mine, as if it already knew what I would say. My lungs burned, my screams muffled by the sound of crashing waves. Then, with one last pull, the glass swallowed me whole. The lighthouse went dark, but if you ever visit this coast, stand near the cliffs on a stormy night. Sometimes, through the fog, people swear they see a face pressed against the broken lens, smiling, and maybe it's waiting for you.